Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hi, it's Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. And one of those things about taking time off is to have a list. In this episode, this is a 2-part episode, we're covering why list building doesn't work, why it fails, and how to make sure that it works for you. And the last time around, last week, we covered how a list really gets built, especially when you don't have an endless advertising budget. This time we're going to cover the second part, and that is why you need to drive your clients from point A to point B if you ever want them to be on your list. Let's say you're advertising your product or service. What would be the goal of your ad? It's not a very complicated goal, is it? You'd want the person who clicked on the ad to show up and either sign up to a list or to buy something. When it comes to content marketing, however, the rules seem to change. Or do they? What if you paid no attention to those rules and decided to operate as though every view was truly costing you money and time? How would your strategy be different? Let's take Instagram, for instance. Let's say you decided to go for some medium like Instagram. People choose that medium because you don't need to spend as much time writing an article or creating a video. And then you start your channel and you get 1 follower. In time, 2 more show up. Maybe 10 days later, you're on double figures. The question is, what should you be doing at this stage? The answer would have been completely different back in the year 2000. When the internet was brand new, it was more like an encyclopedia than a marketplace. The initial concept of the internet was merely to communicate and to inform. Somehow, 2 decades later, the same idea of information seems to be, okay, that's what we'll do, just like we did in 2000. And you're likely to find hundreds or thousands of creators that simply inform in the hope that someday their list will grow and then they'll be in a position to sell. However, the time to move people over to your list is today. And that's because an external company like YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, they can't be trusted. They will change their algorithms, they will change their formulas, they will change their rules, they will change anything. And all of the people, maybe those 1 or 2 or 5 people that are following you, might not be following you anymore because they don't see your work. The only way, and it is the only way, is to get people to your side of the fence on a constant basis. You may not have a website, you may have just a web page. Well, get them there. You may not even have a web page, but just a form. Doesn't matter, still get them there. It's important that you get your followers to that page, which is on your website with your list, because not only are all these external websites changing all the algorithms all the time, but people have more distractions than ever before. So the chances are they're probably going to be a follower, but they're never going to see your stuff again, which is why you have to get them across to your own website, to wherever it is that you're collecting information about your clients. What's important is that you do this activity on a recurring basis. One of my friends has an Instagram following of over 1.5 million, and those numbers change all the time. His posts are mostly feel-good phrases. So he puts these, happy kind of posts that people seem to like for some reason. And then every 1 out of 5 posts, he gets the followers to move across to a free copy of his magazine. To make that very clear, Post 1, post 2, post 3, post 4. Those are happy posts. Everybody likes them. Post 5. That is designed purely to get people across from Instagram right over to his website. They get to the website, they see a free copy of the magazine, they sign up, and now he has them on the list. This may sound really obvious, but a lot of people are not doing it. A lot of people are just accumulating followers on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever, and they're not pulling them across to their website. And it doesn't work that way. I take street photos, for example, and people find it intimidating to take pictures of others. They would like nothing better than to learn how to approach a stranger and take a really warm, intimate picture. If you were following such an Instagram feed and you found there was a way to take pictures of strangers, would you follow that link? It's more than likely you would follow it, because while everybody else is just posting more and more street photos, yours is one street photo, second street photo, third street photo, fourth street photo, and the fifth one, that is driving someone to your website because it's showing you how to take those street photos. These kind of tips, little booklets, little somethings that drive clients from Instagram, from Facebook, from YouTube to your website, they become the crux of how you start to build your list. And it's not like everybody's going to click on it. 90% of your followers or viewers, maybe even 99% of them, will ignore your offering. But it's still worth chipping away at 1% or 10% or whatever that percent that pay attention and then go across to your website. And yes, it's work, because now you have to create content. You have to create some sort of PDF, you have to create some sort of video, something that will get the client feeling, wait, I have to go and check this out. I have to sign up for this. The good news is that you don't need to create endless amounts of content. You can see which topics seem to get people's attention, and you can make that video or PDF, and it explains the topic. For example, how to approach strangers, how to get invited into insider tours, how to shoot in almost complete darkness. Well, these are just 3 topics, and you want people to go across to your website. At first, it's a lot of work because you have to create this whole bunch of content. But it's a matter of working at one project, maybe once every week or once every 2 weeks, and making the content that's valuable. And then it's time for that teaser to show up somewhere in your article, somewhere in your Facebook, Instagram feed, YouTube, etc. And that is what draws the viewer to your site. It's not a one-time thing, it's recurring. 1, 2, 3, 4 teaser, 1, 2, 3, 4 teaser. Once again, this isn't a magic trick. It's management of your time and your resources. And if you don't have a calendar and if you don't stick to it, then the chances of moving people from A to B are bleak to none. You might think that people are extremely intelligent, and they are, but they need instruction as well. If you just let them think, oh, wait a second, they watch something, they will go over to my website. No, that's not how it works. They need to be told, do this, or they need to be given a teaser and said, do that. And that's how they move across. That's how they move across to your website, to your forms, and they will not sign up unless you have something worth their time. You have to do the groundwork. And if you think that some course will just magically help you, well, it's not going to help you. This is why the failure rate is so great, both on the internet and off the internet. It's because people are not willing to put in all of that stuff, that extra time that they need to put in so that they can get people from point A to point B. In the first episode, we looked at what medium you're going to choose, how frequently you're going to do it, and for how long you're going to go at it. And if you've already decided that, if you've already put that down on paper, because you should have, then the next stage is, wait a second, once we've got them on Instagram or got them on YouTube, 1, 2, 3, 4, get the subscribers to the website, get them to sign up. Now, I've been happily saying 1, 2, 3, 4, but it depends on the medium. Maybe if you're on YouTube, every video does the job. If you're on Instagram, maybe every fourth post does the job. When you look at the Psychotactics site and you look at every article, there is a call to action, which is go here, do this. So every article. So it kind of depends where you are and what you're doing. But you have to work out how often are you going to have the goodies? Where are you going to have the goodies? What are the topics you're going to cover? And have a form with an email list. List building, that's what everybody wants to do. They want to get new clients. They want to do this. They want to do that. Well, it's not fancy. It's pretty straightforward. In fact, it's so straightforward that it's pretty much like life. You meet someone, you have to get their number, you have to arrange the next meeting, and that's really what this is about. It's about going to the next step and the next step and the next step. And that brings us to the end of this first part where we looked at how you need to get your clients from A to B to get them on the list. And this takes us to the third and final part, which is why you need to sell something to those clients or risk losing them forever. Here we are, part 3. So this third part isn't hard or even more difficult than the other two. If anything, it's remarkably similar to the second one, except for this part, you are now taking your follower, you're taking your subscriber, and you're getting them to buy something. Which isn't to say that they haven't already bought into what you have to offer. One of the primary reasons why people would follow you or get on your list is because they found your work to be different or interesting or your voice to be different, even if the information is exactly the same. So given a chance, they will buy something from you. Let's say you're listening to this podcast and we had a whole bunch of podcasts on article writing or pricing, and we put them together and we made a bit of an audiobook. Now, there is a very good chance that at least a part of you will go, that would be good, because all of these podcasts, there are over 300 of them. They're all scattered all over the place. And I would like all the pricing podcasts in a sort of audiobook, or I would like all the whatever topic podcasts. So even though these podcasts are free, when you collate them, when you put them together, now they have value. And that is what a customer is likely to buy if they're interested in that topic. The question is, why do you have to get someone to buy something from you? Why do you have to sell them something? Because, as the title says, you risk losing them forever. Let's take a few examples at this point that involve more products and services. Let's say a subscriber is really interested in origami, and you're perceived to be the origami expert. Once they've begun their journey, they want to learn more. They're already on your subscriber list. They get some sort of newsletter. They get notifications from time to time. However, the subscriber knows that all the YouTube videos in the world aren't quite as good as a step-by-step dedicated system. They're not buying a how-to, but they're buying your experience. They're buying your workflow. They want to improve their skills. They want to go up several notches. And at this point in time, if you don't get them to buy something from you, they aren't likely to just put their money under a blanket. Once a client decides, this is important, I want to improve my skills, they are going to move on. And where are they going to move? They're going to move to someone else who will sell them and provide them with the system. Whether it's services or training or even physical products, it's not very different. Let's say you have a store and you sell tires or coffee or bread. Your clients need to be explicitly told to buy a product. Their world is already busy, and when you send out an email or notification about an offer, they pay attention. If you've been on the Psychotactics list long enough, you'll have noticed two kinds of emails. The first kind of email contains the article, and there are some info products and courses mentioned at the bottom. And those mentions, they get a small number of people that click through. People do buy, but they buy in smaller numbers because their focus is on the contents of the article, which isn't to suggest that the mention of the info products and the courses are a waste. They perform the crucial role of branding because people see a product, they see the service, they see it for weeks and months before they decide to buy. Most clients buy, however, when you send them a sales-only email. So you notice there were two emails. The first kind of email has the article and some mention of the products. The second one only mentions the product. That's when clients buy. So clients have to be nudged, pushed, yanked. I don't know. The point is that people are busy. People are in their own worlds. And unless you're going to make that effort to get them into a different world, they're not going to come along. Which is to say that if you're talking about coffee, they will pay attention to all of the information that you're giving them. But then you tell them, wait a second, we're getting this special brand from Brazil. And suddenly they're paying closer attention because you're getting them to focus on one point rather than the whole bunch of points. Let's say you're in the shoe business and now you're getting those exquisite red shoes that everybody's been lusting over. When you tell, you're telling, and when you sell, you're selling. That's why we have two separate kinds of newsletters. You need not have two separate kinds of newsletters. It might be that one week you just decide, okay, this is a sales pitch. This is what I'm going to do for this week. And the next week, I'm going to give some content. And that's what you're kind of doing on Instagram, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a teaser. Or a YouTube video and the teaser, or a newsletter, and then a specific, hey, this is coming along. And you can't do this just randomly. You have to get it down, sit down, work it down on paper, and have these combinations of emails or notifications, and they have to play specific roles. Getting the client to buy something starts the relationship going. When we first sold the Brain Audit, it was a measly 20-page book. We didn't know any better, so we continued to sell on a regular basis. And then, over the years, we got a second version, and guess who bought the second version? New clients as well as existing clients. The same applies to a series like the Website Components. We released the first version in 2013, and then version 2.0 came 7 years later. Once again, who buys the product? Both existing and new clients step up to buy because they know there's value in the relationship or they wouldn't be around in the first place. A business sequence is a lot like dinner. You could go right to the mains, but usually you and I don't do that. We dawdle over the appetizer, the wine, the soup, and then we head to the big meal. And when we're done, we have coffee and dessert. When you sell a client one product, they come back for the second, and they come back for the third, and they move through this sequence of let's have a drink, and let's have an appetizer, and let's have some soup, and then let's have the main, and then let's come back again. And the client continues to buy because they're getting good value from you. And this value applies to shoes, coffee, as much as it applies to any training or to any services. If you don't get the client to buy, you're gifting this entire sequence to someone else. Maybe it's your immediate competitor. Maybe it's someone you don't even know. However, it's certainly not you. All of that list building exercise, the moving of clients from A to B, all of that might end up being pointless if you don't get the subscriber to buy. Which isn't to say that every subscriber will buy. Most of your audience isn't likely to buy anything. They're likely to open up the emails infrequently, they unsubscribe, they do all sorts of things. Don't let that bother you very much. We've had subscribers on our list for 7 or 8 years or longer. They've bought nothing. They choose not to buy anything for that duration. When the moment presents itself, They open up the email, and if the offer is tempting enough, then they buy something. And that something is the start of another thing and another thing and another thing. You can buy a course that promises you how to build a list. And there are lots of courses that will talk about list building. And yes, you can spend your money. That's not a problem. The problem is that it's not that complicated. It is a lot of work, but it's not complicated. The work needs to start with you. You need to know the medium. You need to know how often you're going to post on the medium, and then for how many years you're going to do that. And when you get past that first stage, that's kind of when you've gotten started. It's very likely that they're going to be in some other place, as in your YouTube channel or Instagram channel or whichever place you're going to be in, and you have to get them across from A to B, B being your website, your form, and then it's a matter of, wait a second, I've got them here, I'm going to send them a newsletter, and is that enough? No, that's not enough. The third point is you have to get them to buy. And that kind of starts to build your list, because buyers are customers. And to summarize this, let's have a simple example. Let's say you have a coffee store and people have seen your advertising and they decide, hey, this is interesting, and you do nothing. Well, they don't come to your store. And yes, maybe eventually they do come to your store because you've done something and they're interested, and they come to the store and they look around and then they leave. It's not bad news. They might come back. But what is the goal? The goal is for them to buy. That goal is better for them because they get some great coffee. It's better for you because it helps you sell the coffee and run your business and keep that passion of making coffee alive. And really, that's what list building is all about. These 3 stages. Go through the stages, and that's when we have to be or not to be. What do you want to do? You want to be or not to be? Another ridiculous course in list building is not going to help you. These steps are. But that brings us to the end of this podcast. Let's find out what's happening in Psychotactics land. On the 10th of April, we have the article writing home study. Now, why is the article writing home study so valuable? Well, one of the main things that we have to do as business owners, and we never had to do this before. My father ran a business. He didn't have to write any articles. He didn't have to create any PDFs. He didn't have to create any content. We do. And so we need to have control over that situation so that we know that when we are facing millions of articles out there, how can ours stand out? How can we then take that article, make it into a PDF? How can we create content that is very useful and that gets people through that cycle of list building that we've just talked about? So that's what the article writing course is all about. It shows you the structure of how you put all of the elements together. Because an article is, well, most people say, oh, write an article. No, it's a bunch of elements. So it's how do you start it? What is the structure? The who, what, why, how? What are the objections? How do you end it? All of that needs to be put together. And that's what the course is about. There are only 25 copies available, even though it is a home study, it is a PDF, it is audio and stuff, but there are only 25 copies. To get on the waiting list, you have to go to psychotactics.com/awgoodies. That's AW for article writing. And you'll start getting some goodies anyway, and then you can decide for yourself, hey, this is working for me already or not. So that's psychotactics.com, AW goodies, and that's pretty much it for April. In May, we're going to have the pre-sale course coming up, but I think that's too early. But while you're waiting for the article writing course, there's also a book called Outlining. So go to Psychotactics and you'll find it in products under $50. and there is a book on outlining. And that really helps you. It's different from the outlining that you did at school. It's different from the outlining that you used to dread at school. Well, you'll find out for yourself. I'll say bye for now, and we'll see you in 5000 BC. Bye-bye. Still listening? If you find us on Facebook or Instagram or any other media, what you'll see is that there are recipes and there's food pictures and street photos and all that kind of stuff. And everything that I just told you in this episode and the previous episode doesn't apply. As in, there is no push towards psychotactics, there is no incentive, there is no teaser, there is nothing. And that's not a contradiction. There are places where people show up, which is on an article, and then they're directed through that process. But there are places where I just have my hobbies, like photography or cartooning or cooking or whatever. You don't have to monetize everything, despite what everybody tells you. You can have locations where it's just fun, where you're just enjoying yourself, and you don't have to go through this ridiculous process of monetizing every single thing that you can do. Which is why you can find us on Facebook or Instagram, and that's where you find all the food and all the stuff, and it goes nowhere except on Instagram itself or on Facebook. And of course, in our membership site at 5000 BC, where there's a lot of serious discussion, lots of how to grow the business, how to get past these obstacles that you've had, and also a lot of fun. So come and join us in 5000 BC. Maybe you've considered it. Maybe you've thought, oh, I'll do it someday. Make that day today. To be or not to be, that kind of happens today. Bye for now.